folks, CrackBacks still in quarantine, still locked down, but stuff's still going on here. We actually have a little bit of sports to report on, and we have a new friend of the program. You already know Gets down at the bottom of the screen here, but we got Mike A.
Yo, what's cracking, what's motherfucking cracking, yo?
MMA specialist here. So we're going to be talking about the fights coming up this weekend here. Gets, Mike?
I'm very excited.
All right.
I mean, I thank you for having me on. I'm excited to discuss this card because
thank you for coming on, man.
Stacked to the gills. So
thank God.
One of the things we got to talk about first is the fight that's not going to happen, which was supposed to be the headliner. We had Khabib fighting Tony Ferguson. Now this is not the second, third, fourth time. This is the fifth time this fight has been canceled. You know what? I don't know about you guys. I was kind of into watching it. I want to see if somebody could beat Khabib. And the reason that I usually draw in and want to watch Khabib fight, it's almost like the same thing with Mayweather, right? You have Mayweather that, maybe he doesn't have the most exciting fights, but he talks trash. You kind of wanted to see him get a loss. No one could beat him. So right now, Khabib's the most dominant fighter in the UFC. I mean, if you look at all of his fights, he pretty much has won every single round he's been in. I think he's only lost one to Conor McGregor in the fourth round, the third round. And other than that, I think maybe he lost one other round, but other than that, he's won every single round. So that's kind of his draw. He's not the most exciting guy. He's more of a grappler.
But he's a technical specialist. But for the folks who don't know, me included,
sure.
The 5 times that they got canceled, what did they get canceled for?
I mean, my dog ate my homework. I stubbed my toe. My girlfriend was on her period. I got it was everything, everything.
Seriously.
Everything. Health issues.
He missed weight one time. He got hurt one time.
So it's not like an earthquake happened and they couldn't get to the venue, or like what actually happened in Vegas last year.
I guess this time you would call it an earthquake because we have COVID. So that's
so
actually.
They're saying this is the first valid excuse they have.
He lives close to China.
All right, roll.
I think he's in Dagestan or Pakistan or whatever that fucking.
One of the.
I'm getting angry.
It's very close. It's very close to Wuhan, wherever he lives.
2 blocks over, right? So he could have got some fried bat sent over to the house.
I really don't.
Yeah,
think,
man.
I think right
nuggets.
now nobody's actually allowed to fight in the UFC. Like everyone that's going to be fighting is based in the United States, I believe.
Yeah, that's why he tried to buy the island and bring in the international fighters.
Yeah, real talk. What happened with that island? That was big news for a couple of days that he had it. He was bringing in people to help with logistics.
So was Ja Rule's island.
This is true. Shouts to the Fire Festival.
I don't know if he's still trying to do it. They may be still trying to do it, but I don't think that was something that he's going to be able to throw together that quickly.
I think he tried to put it together too fast.
It feels that he's skirting around a few laws to get that island done, and it's going to take a few more millions of dollars and a few more, a little more time to get around those things to get it done. So.
At least they're trying, though.
This is true. This is true. We got to at least appreciate it. As fans of sports, not having anything to watch, dude, has been difficult.
So, Mike, let me ask you, your gut feeling, your true thoughts that this is now the 5th time that they've canceled this fight with Khabib and Tony Ferguson. What's your gut feeling? Is Khabib just shook? Does he know that this is the guy that beat him and he's backing out?
No, I don't think so. I think in this situation right now, you've got the whole world on pause. And if you're going into a fight where you've got to cut a bunch of weight, it's going to be a tough fight. You don't even know if it's going to happen. And you're trying to call the UFC and find out where it's happening. They're not giving you a location. So you don't know, if it's happening on a certain – now they start moving the dates back. Now they don't have a location. He's been asking where the location is. He doesn't even know if he can get out of his country. So, do you really want to start killing yourself, losing weight? Because he cuts a lot of weight. He cuts a lot of weight for the fight. It's not fun cutting weight. I mean,
that's an interesting segue there, because I know we were going to talk about the weight cuts, and you have some strong feelings.
Yeah. So, I mean, as far as cutting down in weight, and you know, it's one thing to diet and get yourself down in weight. Are we losing someone?
He'll be back.
Okay. So it's one thing for you to be, you know, losing weight, you're dieting, you're doing whatever you got to do to drop your weight. But the problem really comes down to the, you know, losing of the water weight, which is the true, you know, water cut, they call it. Some of those guys are doing 10, 15 pounds, you know, in some cases, maybe more. 10 is probably on the small side.
Yeah, I remember Rumble Johnson was cutting like 30, 40 pounds at one point.
Dude, that guy is an absolute monster. It's crazy. He fought at 170 at one point. I can't even imagine how the guy.
And now he's like 230.
I think he fought. Did he fight at heavyweight? I believe he fought. I know he fought Daniel Cormier at 205. But I think he fought maybe recently at heavyweight.
Now he's coming back at heavyweight just so he can be as big as he wants to be.
How bad does that wreck your body? Going up 30, dropping 30, going up 20, dropping 30.
Yeah.
It can't be good for you. There's no way that's good for you.
Well, definitely as far as like maybe losing the weight when they're dieting, I don't know if that's really the issue. I think the issue is when you start depriving your body of water, and your liver, all your kidneys, all those things. That definitely is not good for you. So in Japan, they have the one championship, which is another fighting card, another organization, and what they do is they actually follow the same type of situation that they do for wrestling in the Olympics. So what that does is basically they're going to test you for the whole week up until when you fight. So they're going to test your weight, but what they also do is they check to make sure that you're fully hydrated. So that means, and it's not like you get fully hydrated once and then you can just dehydrate yourself, make weight, and then rehydrate. They're testing you every step of the way. So you can't ever be dehydrated. You have to be fully hydrated. So they're testing your piss, however they do that. I don't really know. But to me, that's the best way. So basically, all you're looking at now is guys that fight at 145 pounds are going to fight at 155 pounds, but they're not going to have to kill themselves to cut that. Like if we're the same exact size and I weigh 165 pounds and we're going to fight at 145 and I drop 10 pounds by dieting and working out and doing a lot of cardio and whatever I got to do to make, drop the 10 pounds off. If we're down at 155, if we disagree, all right, we're both hydrated, we're at 155, we're the same size. Why both kill yourselves, lose all that water weight just to make weight for one day? Then you put all the water weight back, you rehydrate yourself. You got guys giving themselves IVs at one point. I mean, they were doing all kinds of different things.
Yeah, they were doing crazy shit, man. And I've never done it. I wasn't a wrestler. I used to see these wrestlers at my high school, wearing the trash bag suits and running around in the hallway. Then they'd go sit in the fucking sauna. That's just bad. And the thing that I've noticed in UFC is those guys that have to do that have to drop a dramatic amount of weight. By the time they get to the second or third round, they're dying. Yeah. They're gassed, man. Especially Romero. Dude, Romero runs out of gas like no one I've ever seen, bro. And he cuts from probably 215, 220 all the way down to 170 sometimes.
He's a freak of nature. Joe Rogan was talking about him the other day on his podcast about how the ligaments in that guy's elbows and knees are stronger. They're like 2 or 3 times stronger than the average human beings. When he was getting into UFC, because they don't know what the hell they were feeding him in Cuba. They don't know what kind of food. What the
horse meat.
With exactly, horse meat and plantain skins is what they're feeding him in Cuba. So when they got the doctors got a hold of him, they're like, "Where in the hell did you get this guy from?" I mean, they're testing this, they're testing that. He's like, he's like an X-Men almost. He's because what is he 40? How old is that guy?
He's 40.
I think he's 42.
Wrecking kids that are younger than him.
Yeah.
As long as he knocks out in the first round, because no
doesn't even look. Well, I mean, really, he's gone. He had 2 5. He's gone 5 rounds a bunch of times. He went 5 rounds with
Adesanya
twice.
Yeah.
That was like a fucking
and the other thing is too,
fight.
if he's Cuban and he says he's 40 years old. He's 52.
He could be older, right?
Absolutely.
That's what they say. I don't know why. What? Explain that to me. I've
Well,
heard of
for
that before.
baseball, a lot of baseball players would do that. I mean, for UFC, I don't think it would count as much because it's a singular sport. You knock somebody out, it doesn't matter how old you are.
Right.
But in baseball, if you're a phenom and you're 19 years old, you're worth more to the major league team than if you're a phenom and you're 24.
Because they think you're going to get better.
Yeah, so they'll lie or they'll get a fake passport or birth certificate.
They're investing in you.
Absolutely.
With your contract and everything.
One of the famous ones, the Atlanta Braves had a shortstop named Rafael Furcal back in the day, and he was supposed to be 18 years old, and they were going to arrest him for drinking outside of a nightclub. And he whips out his real passport. Dude was 22. So, so they do that kind of shit to make themselves look more marketable. But in the UFC, I mean, it really doesn't matter. Kimbo Slice was 800 years old, and they were trying to market him. He just couldn't fight anymore.
Right. I guess it really doesn't matter. I mean, you had Randy Couture was fighting in there when he was older. I don't know how old he went until he actually ended up stopping. But
like 47.
Yeah, it was like at least in his mid-40s.
Randy Couture was like 47 for his last fight.
Didn't the Gracies fight till they were old too?
Yeah, that's kind of a different style, though.
That's way back with the no rules.
Yeah. They're not. I think. I don't think they would be able to do that today. I mean, but the difference is with, you have Randy Couture and then you have Yoel Romero. The difference is Yoel Romero is doing backflips. I mean, the guy's 42 years old. He just flips and does he does handstands. He's acrobatic. It's just insane. I mean, he hits people with flying knees. He just kind of has a slower pace where it's kind of part of his strategy rather than, constantly be going fast. And the good thing is when you have that much power, you can literally kind of stay kind of dormant and, just kind of be standing there and resting. And if anyone comes in, it's just one punch you got to throw. So they can't really take advantage of it as much as people would think. That's why the fight with, his last fight with Adesanya wasn't very anything spectacular. They really just stood there.
Those guys,
they tried to stay away from each other.
Those guys grew up fighting from the time they could walk. But question. I mean, I could bounce it off of Getz first and then up to Mike after. But how does and I'm stuck on Hardy a little bit because I want to see the guy get absolutely railed, but you probably won't happen because neither one of you can name the guy he's fighting. But I would love to see him watch him get knocked out. But what from his football days translates into the octagon? Other than demeanor and passion or whatever. I'm saying
they got number one, the dude is crazy. He was mentally, clinically insane.
He's certifiable.
So he probably wants to hurt people. He's probably a sociopath. Deep down.
Right? You got to be violent.
Number two, for you to make it to the NFL, and he wasn't just some NFL guy that made it to camp and got bounced. He got drafted high. He was with multiple teams making Pro Bowls with different teams. He was one of the best.
Big contracts. He was
one of the best
NFL players.
Yeah, he was one of the best defensive ends in the NFL. Clearly one of the top 50 players in the whole entire league. He just got bounced out of the league because he likes to beat up chicks and do cocaine. I'm not judging. I'm just saying that's what it was.
A lot of times those would be together too.
I'm just reporting.
Yeah.
So physically, as an athlete, almost anybody he walks into the octagon with, he's got an advantage. Strength, power, speed, bigger, faster, stronger. Maybe some people have technique on him. Some people have gas tank. Some people can defend what he's doing and counter better than him. But, when it really comes down to it, and Mike, like you said, when they step in the pocket and fire, he's probably hitting harder than anybody in there.
He's definitely, I would say from football, I played football, I would say explosiveness. That's something in football where, it's basically all explosiveness. You're going short plays that are usually, sometimes only a few seconds long, but it's full exertion, especially if you're playing on the line, offensive, defensive line, you've got another guy across from you, 300 pounds maybe, he's probably 270 and they're throwing each other's body weight at each other. So, I mean, that's
every time.
Yeah, I mean, that's, as he said, strength, explosiveness. That's what I would say it would be the biggest thing. Obviously, they do a lot of footwork drills in football, which should carry over, and just being generally a good athlete, that should help anyone out. But I wouldn't think, Nate Diaz says that football players translate over to the best MMA fighters. I don't know why he says that. Sometimes he doesn't make much sense with some things that he says. I understand football because I've
that
known
many punches to the head, man. Some of your thoughts might be scrambled too.
Yeah, exactly. I think it really depends on like what position you play, and it depends on your agility. Some people you throw, he's a defensive lineman. You throw the ball at him, he can't catch the ball. So maybe your hand-eye coordination's not there to be doing boxing and blocking.
But plus, some things when you
plus
think
he's
about
like
it,
he's like 6'6", 260,
long arms,
and he can move. That's hard to find. Like there's not very many humans that can do that.
When you have DNs, when you got hand fighting on the side, the whole idea of that is just to get the offensive lineman's hands off of you so you can move them where you want to. That's going to translate right over. And you're right, that explosiveness of just shooting a gap, shooting right into somebody's into the body, going for a takedown, something like that. That's going to translate for sure. It's interesting though because the technique, especially with martial arts, technique can outweigh strength a lot of times. Now, when you have the strength and the technique, of course, then like a John Jones or something of that sort, or Romero, like we were talking about before, that's your ultimate combo. But if you have somebody that's really a true technician, the other person may be stronger than them, that they may be able to toss them around. I don't think we're going to see that on Saturday, considering that you guys can't name the guy he's fighting. It's probably a Frank Bruno deal where he's just going to get
Jorgen De Castro.
There it is. That's his official name. Yet none of us know who he is.
The dude. I tried to check it. The dude doesn't have a Wikipedia page. I mean,
kiss of death.
That's rough right there. They picked somebody out of the crowd that looked like a fighter.
I could make him Wikipedia info, right? Can't anyone just do that?
We might as well create one for him, right?
Let's help him out, right? The other thing that just as far as the weight cutting for me is a big thing. I wrestled and cutting weight is miserable. At least when you do go through like a wrestling season, you kind of keep your weight down a bit, so you may lose. I didn't really have to. I always had my weight pretty much under control, but I think in college they would do their weigh-ins the night before, so that it's similar to the UFC. So you could cut water weight and then put some weight back on, even if it's 5 pounds. Maybe it wasn't as extreme back then, or maybe it is up to 10 pounds in college wrestling. But you'd have 24 hours, so you do the weigh-in just like the fights, and then you would wrestle and compete 24 hours later, so you have a chance to hydrate. In high school wrestling, you're weighing in like an hour before you wrestle, so you don't see like that drastic. Because you can't. I actually had one match where the coach came up to me. I actually at the time I was probably 6'2", same height I am now, 145 pounds. I wrestled at my sophomore year.
Jesus Christ!
Yeah, as a string beam, and so I just couldn't put on like weight. I was just very skinny. I was always strong, but that's kind of just the weight I was. I was like a basketball player then, and then I just switched over to wrestling. But he had me cut. There was actually nobody on the other team at 140 pounds. So the idea was for me to cut 5 pounds, weigh in, and I would get a forfeit for the team. And I did the 5 pounds. I didn't even think I could cut the 5 pounds. I basically just rode on a bike, sweatpants, everything. I didn't think I could do it. I didn't think I could cut 5 pounds, but I actually was able to do it. And I've never felt probably worse than that before.
Yeah.
And probably about to die.
It's like, for me, it was the first time I ever did it. So I think, it gets easier when you get used to it, but it was a horrible feeling. So if they could do away with that, I think it would just help the sport, because the guys are going to be, they're going to be in better condition going into the fight, so why make them go through cutting the weight and doing all this stuff? They had a guy had a seizure because he was cutting weight, a very good fighter of theirs. I can't remember his name, but he actually had a seizure because of the drastic weight cut he went through. So,
and even just as an entertainment factor, I mean, bigger, stronger, always more entertaining.
Yeah, it'll be less of a weight cut game and more of a like, okay, these two guys are the same size, get them in there and fight.
That's what it's supposed to be. It's not
another weight class, though, like a super heavyweight or
they do
or something. They have one already.
No, they have to add one because all the weight classes go, 135, 145, 155, 170, 185.
Yeah.
Then it goes then there's big jumps. Then it's 205. And then the heavyweight weight limit is 265. So there has to be something in the middle there. There has to be a
205 is not a
there has to be a 230 or a 240 that's actual heavyweight, and then maybe super heavyweight that's just you be as big as you want to be. Then you see some freaks come in there.
John Jones' brother come in and fight.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the other things. I think that I've never even thought about them doing another heavyweight, but it is. I mean, to have it go from 205 to 265. I mean, you're leaving 60 pounds in there. I mean, it's kind of a
and a lot of those guys cut down to 265.
Yeah, so I think if they're going to do the water exemption and not do it that way, they're going to have to probably raise that weight.
Absolutely.
So that the people that were 285 or whatever don't have to cut the additional weight. So they probably could add another weight class in there, but they don't seem to want to do that because they don't want to do a 165 because a lot of people are saying you're going from 155 to 170. Like why is the jump 15 pounds there, and then from 170 to 185? Why not have 165, 175, maybe 185, then go to 205 or something.
Speaking of weight,
I don't. Go ahead.
Speaking of weight classes in the UFC, I want to ask you: do we still have to have this men's weight class at 125 pounds with these little midgets who can't knock each other out?
I personally, I think you can just get rid of it. In my opinion, I think you can get rid of it because
just keep him on the prelims.
Yeah, man, get him out of here.
Keep him on the prelims.
Nobody really cares. Here's a couple things. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
That's the one thing. You had the guy, Mighty Mouse Johnson was champion for a long time. Great fighter. Awesome. But nobody cared. Nobody cared to watch him fight. And the problem is there's so few people at 125 pounds for him to fight that it's
when's the last time you met somebody that was 125 pounds?
That's what I'm saying, man. Yo, listen.
He should fight the
Grow
women's
up
champion.
already. Grow up. You're a man.
He should fight the women's champion.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm cool
there's my next question.
Was it Nunez?
Yo, there's my next question, and I know I might take some heat for this. You can find me at Digital Bookie on the Instagram, whatever. Do we need to keep women's MMA around? I loved the fuck was her name? Gina Carano. I love Ronda Rousey. Amanda Nunes is a beast. She could probably beat a lot of men.
What's that
But
Russian
the rest,
chick? The
but
Russian
the rest
woman
of
that
these,
just knocked somebody out with a
Yeah.
kick the other day.
the rest of these women's fights are boring and a waste of time. It's nothing against the women. I just don't like seeing women get all beat up. The one girl that had the big thing on her forehead, man.
Oh, yeah.
Let me just tell you, as a just a pure fan perspective, and a marketing perspective, you just brought it up right there. That, and no one remembers her name, but you remember that it was a girl with a huge thing on her forehead, and that picture went viral. So they're right now. What's Dana White's going? We need another woman with another Rockman on her forehead.
Yeah. Do we need to have that?
So that's not going anywhere. The women are fighting.
We need to have that in the UFC.
It's not going anywhere.
It was a
Rockman.
Rockman.
Get rid of that.
That's a perfect explanation for it. I don't know why I'm not thinking of her name. I'm bad with names, but she fights all the time. She's actually what is it?
It's a Polish name, Jędrzejczyk.
Yeah, something like that. I can't pronounce her name anyway. But you know what? I can tell you this much: when they started having women's MMA fights and stuff, I was not into it. I don't like seeing girls fight typically. Like I'm a jerk, I know, but I would say that now it's gotten. I mean, Amanda Nunes. I mean, some of these fights. I mean, Holly Holmes. Holly Holmes is a great kickboxer. I mean, there's been some really good girl fights. I mean, some of them really beat the living shit out of each other. That last one with the Polish girl, I can't pronounce her name, and that fight with her, and I think it was an Asian girl of some sort. like I'm never gonna be fans of like these, like I don't know. Everyone was like,
It's just
all about
boring.
Ronda Rousey.
No,
I never really was into this. Ronda
I agree
Rousey,
with you that the women a lot of times they're not as good, which is true. But recently, Mike's 100% right. Recently, they've gotten better. We had the Rock Bomb. A couple of fights before that, there was a leg
that was
kick,
a great fight.
and she went to sleep on that kick.
Amanda Nunes is nasty because she
Nunes
fights like a man.
Like a dude. But,
she throws punches. She tries to knock you out. She throws kicks.
But
Amanda
you're going to
Nunes
see that more and
fights
more.
like a
you're
man.
going to have more women fighting in that style more and more because of Amanda Nunes.
They're getting better and better. The girl athletes that are coming in are getting better and better. So I would say we'll keep the girls MMA for sure, 100%. When it first started, I wasn't really a fan. I didn't even enjoy like seeing Ronda Rousey fight. A lot of people were like, I couldn't believe that her pay-per-view numbers and all this stuff were like, she was a huge draw. And I think there's a lot of sick, perverted men out there that probably wonder like they have some fetish. Because I couldn't get it. I'm like, I don't understand why everyone wants to see this girl fight so much. At that time, I saw her striking was not really that great. I thought she pulled off some really great submissions. She had great judo throws. But I was never that excited about it. What I would say is this: when I look at a card and I see, like, we're such assholes like with this conversation, like for girls watching. But when I see on the main card and I see like 2 girl fights, I get like a little like there's only 6 fights on the main card and 2 are females. That kind of, so maybe keep it to maybe 1 on the main card.
Well, one of the things, at least, submission fighters are always boring. Men, women, doesn't matter. The submission, watching somebody roll around, holding the arm. Mm-hmm. It's cool right when the arm's about to snap and they tap out, but it's it's less entertaining than seeing someone get a rock bomb or getting knocked out. And the women do seem to be actually throwing strikes more recently, so it's a little bit more entertaining. But
get it out of here.
There's going to be some more
they're not going to get rid of
it.
Give them their own league. Give them their own league, or do like UFC women's.
That didn't work. Yeah. That didn't work for the NBA. All right, but hold on 1 second here, fellas. We're going to pay some bills. We'll be back in 2 minutes. We're going to go through the fights this weekend. Back with Mike Ye and Getz in 2 seconds here. All right, CrackBacks. We're back with our fight companion here. We got Mikey Atz in the building, the digital Wookie down below with Brian Getz here. So Mike just said that he is going to, the next time we do the show, he's going to be able to pronounce everybody's name. I don't know how I feel about that. I think I want you to say him wrong because it's funnier to me. But if you want to practice it beforehand, you can most certainly go ahead and try.
Yeah, I'm not going to practice like reading them. I'm going to have to like find someone saying them because I'm looking at Jairzinho Rosenstrike. Like I know his last name's Rosenstrike, but that first name, I mean, Jair.
Let me just tell you, with a last name like Rosenstrike, I wasn't expecting him to look the way that he.
No. I mean, as soon as I saw,
he's a beast. He's a beast, though.
I was expecting to be fighting in a yarmulke.
Ain't nobody cracking on his name.
Yo, Rosen. I thought of Fletch, Dr. Rosen.
Yeah. My man's big too, dude.
Yes, 10-0. He basically knocks everybody he fights clean out. Everything's been over in the UFC as far first and second round knockouts.
Massive dude.
The only fight that he went 5 rounds. That was with Alistair Overeem, who's he's been around forever.
Now is that pre or post steroids with Overeem?
Post.
Yeah. So that was actually the last fight. And I don't know who it was. A barn burner of a fight. And in the last in the 5th round, Rosenstrike just went after him, and he ended up knocking him out. And he basically split Alistair Overeem's lip from here, like halfway up his face. He gave him cute. He gave him basically like a cleft lip.
Yeah, he did.
Yo, I saw that. That was crazy.
Like that.
It was all the way up to his eye almost.
Dude, it hurt looking at it.
That had to hurt for weeks too. They're probably never going to feel the same.
The surgeons whipped them up. You can't even tell it happened. It's incredible.
I wonder if it has full feeling though, or like he has to like lift it to eat a sandwich.
I don't know.
Maybe he needs the soca sauce to get a little flavor in there.
There you go, Mike. You like hot sauce?
Yeah, I do. I'm not a doctor though, so I don't know about that nerve stuff. And I'm not. I know you guys probably thought I could possibly be a doctor, but I'm not. I just want everyone to know that.
I thought you were. I thought neurosurgeon right off the bat.
For sure.
We make hot sauce over here. It's called Soca sauce, Trinidadian gourmet hot sauce. We got a bottle
Yeah?
for you, but yeah,
Oh.
we're gonna blow up with that too. So you got Rosenstrike's fighting, and I know the name here, Francis Ngannou. He's been around for a while.
He's a beast, an absolute beast. He really, as far as strength and power, if you think Hardy's got strength and power, like this guy's, I saw him training, and he was literally with a sledgehammer or an axe, just chopping wood. I thought he was like doing it just for the camera. I mean, he's just, he's like an ox, and he put Alistair Overeem's head into orbit.
That's straight from Rocky IV.
Did you see that knockout? Did you guys see that?
Rocky IV in Siberia was chopping wood. That's where they got it from.
Yeah.
It sounds like both of you have Ngannou winning this fight.
Absolutely.
Listen, I mean, Rosenstrike is 10-0, but he has not fought the same people. Francis Ngannou's been in there with a lot bigger caliber. He's ranked number 2 right now. Rosenstrike is number 6. I would say, you know, the people that have beat Francis Ngannou, most of them, not all of them, but basically he's got 3 losses. He's been taken down, and that's the way to beat him. Rosenstrike doesn't really grapple at all. All of his fights have been standing up. His wins have been by TKO or knockout. So the ways that you beat Ngannou, it doesn't really look like he really brings those type of attributes into the fight. You know, he's not a submission guy. He doesn't wrestle. It's basically all stand up for either guy. So
okay.
All right.
I think he's
So
going to have his work cut out for him. I'm going to say. Go ahead. You wanted to say first?
I'm saying before we go run down this whole roster of fights for 249, let's get the other topics out of the way. Number one, I know you wanted to talk about the open finger gloves. You felt very strongly.
Well, look, they've had an issue with eye pokes for a long time now, and it's a much bigger issue than people make out. Some people do it on purpose. John Jones admittedly says that he pokes people in the eye.
Yeah,
now,
he's dirty.
Dude, how many times have you just like accidentally just poked yourself in the eye like this? Like, and it's like the worst thing, right? Like, I poked myself in the eye. If you poke yourself as a kid, everyone knows like it sucks. It's horrible. Now just imagine someone that's trying to kill you across the cage from you, and when they're eye poking you, they're doing it a lot harder. Like you might poke yourself in the eye like something very small. These guys are stabbing each other in the eye.
They're practicing that too. It's not a random move.
With long fingernails and everything.
Well, they got to cut their fingernails, so it's not really that, but they could still get scratched. They scratch their cornea. There was one fight with Matt Mitrione. This is a heavyweight fight with Travis Brown, and Matt Mitrione was winning the fight. It was, I believe, it was in the first round, but he was basically just connecting. He was winning all the exchanges. Travis Brown was looking like he didn't have an answer for the puzzle, and he was wobbled, and he 100% poked Matt Mitrione in the eye, and he poked him bad, and that changed the entire tide of the fight. All the momentum was going for Matt Mitrione, and after that happened, it completely changed the tide of the fight, and Travis Brown ended up winning the fight. So it's a huge problem, and there's no real reason. See, the UFC gloves are basically made so that your hands can be basically resting like this. And there's not really any reason when you're fighting that it's necessary for them to be. Yeah, you can parry punches down that way, but you could also do that kind of like this, you know. So the Pride gloves that they used to have in Japan, which was actually more popular than UFC a while back, so they're no longer around. But the way that their gloves are made is that your hand is kind of like this in the glove. So it's more for, you know, naturally you're more almost towards the fist. Yeah. But if you need to open up like this to grab somebody's wrist or, you know, to execute some kind of a takedown, you can certainly do it. So there's no real reason to have these guys where the natural, stance or the natural way your hand's going to be in the glove could be just wide open like this. So if it's going to be something where they're cupped down, it's going to be a lot harder. And they have some other gloves they're working on now as well, where I think there may be even something that kind of holds the four fingers together a little bit.
Isn't there a glove that looks like an oven mitt that basically covers the whole thing up, but they can still grab for jiu-jitsu underneath?
Well, just a taekwondo a taekwondo glove would be that way, and any kind of like striking martial arts that you would have any sort of tournaments with.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of glove that they have. It would be an open palm, but it comes over the fingers. They just have to keep it a kind of a lightweight. But I understand exactly where you're coming from there. Where it's safer for fighters on both ways. Number one, your eyes are 100% safer, but you're not risking breaking a finger. Because your hand was in the wrong position.
Fuck their fingers. The thing is, the fans don't want to see a fight end on an eye poke.
I want to see a fight end on a
finger
either.
I don't want to see a career end because somebody gets their eye gouged.
It's just a real shitty way to have someone get an advantage on you. Like you've got all these different weapons that you're coming after each other. You train all the time, and let's face it, if you get poked in the eye really bad, you could tell some of these guys. There was a fight recently with Jeremy Stevens, and he's fighting that one Mexican fighter. His name's escaping me right now, but, in the first 10 seconds, this was the main event. They fought in Mexico, and in, the first 10 seconds of the fight, Mexican dude gets Jeremy Stevens.
I might need to reconnect
so bad.
No, I can hear you just fine, guys.
I hear you. You good?
He'll figure it out. Keep going. He's probably gonna hop out and hop back in.
Yeah. So basically, that's just where one of those things that if they can make it better, and there's a way that they can kind of get rid of those type of things from happening, because it's giving people a very unfair advantage. And come on, all the things you can do to each other, let's not eye poke each other. It's just a dirty thing to do to begin with. But if you think about it, if you're in a fight with some guy that's trying to knock you out unconscious, he's trying to beat you, and there's a million people watching, and you're hurt already, and this guy's coming at you to knock you out. It's like, all right, if I get him in the eye, I might poke him in the eye, and the ref may not be able to continue right now, and it's going to give me 2 minutes while his eye is getting fixed. So it's just it's became a strategy.
What's the worst that they would do? Take a point?
Yeah, it's not, unless it happened repeatedly, but really one time good is all you need.
They can DQ you, but more importantly, the dude that gets poked in the eye, if he can't kill you, then they give the victory to the other dude. They just
but I don't think they're DQing you for doing it once. You'd have to do it repeat a second time, and they warn them. They say watch your finger. They're doing it all the time, trying to make it better, but and they're watching out for it more now, and they're more willing to give a point. But if there's something they can do with the gloves,
a point's not if you're dominating a fight and then you can't continue because you got poked in the eye, a point's not doing shit for you.
That's bullshit. There was back in the day, I remember with Anthony Rumble Johnson when he was at 170, he fought Josh Koscheck, and Rumble was killing him. Beating him all over the cage, hitting him into the corner. Koscheck's more of a wrestler. He couldn't take him down. Next thing you know, Koscheck poked him right in the eye, real bad, real obvious. And
what happened after that?
He got him twice, and Rumble was like, "Yo, I can't see," and the doctor wouldn't let him go.
Oh yeah. So horrible. So we'll need to fix that. So. So right now we could start. Where do you guys want to start as far as these fights?
All right, we got about 10 minutes left of the show, so let's go ahead and knock out the fights here.
Well, before we
knock the card out.
Before we run through these fights, I wanted to get your opinion on who Conor McGregor should fight next.
Okay, so look, I don't want to see him fight Khabib. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm and he's dialed it down a bit, but for a while there, he was getting obnoxious, it was like an ex-girlfriend, give me attention. This is the thing. Khabib is, it's almost like you mentioned with grapplers and submission expert people. Look, I find grappling to be very interesting. I actually like different strategies in MMA, so I'm not against watching that kind of fight. And Khabib, in his defense, he'll go rounds where he's just standing up and they're fighting. So he's not just that one dimensional. And when he does take people down, he usually does ground and pound them. He's beating on them, so it's not really boring with him. But Conor McGregor is one of the best strikers that the UFC's ever had. So for him to just try to jump back in there, you hear me?
Yeah, I just said preach because he is one of the best.
So he's one of the best strikers the UFC's ever had. Do we really want you to go? You have your 30-second fight with Cowboy, jump back in there, and then Khabib lays on you for 4 or 5 rounds, or whatever that is. I mean, we kind of saw that already. Look, if he puts up, he gets some more wins together, but more or less, Conor McGregor does not need the belt to be a star. He's already a big enough star. People are going to watch him no matter what, if it's for the belt or not. I think people are more interested in watching him fight someone like Anthony Showtime Pettis, who's, he's got great jiu-jitsu, he's got great submissions, but he's mainly a stand-up guy. He's got highlight reel knockouts over a lot of top competitors, and that would be a great fight for him. He's got Justin Gaethje, who's going to be fighting Tony Ferguson right now. That would be a great fight because, look, Gaethje goes for broke. I think Conor McGregor is way more crisp with his striking, and I think he would definitely beat Gaethje. But that's a great fight for him, because Gaethje likes to stand and bang. You got Nate Diaz for a trilogy fight. That's a dangerous fight for Conor McGregor again. I mean, for whatever reason, the way those guys match up, it's a very difficult fight for Conor, so that would be a good fight. Or Jorge Masvidal.
I don't know how much time we got left on the clock.
Yeah, we got about 7 minutes.
For UFC 49, the big one, the UFC comeback trying to save the coronavirus. First fight I noticed was on the prelims, Donald Cerrone and Anthony Showtime Pettis.
Okay, go ahead. Where do you think it's going?
I'm asking you.
I think Anthony Pettis is going to win that fight. So at a 3-round fight, I don't know. Look, Cowboys lost. He got knocked out by Gaethje in the first round. He got beat by Conor McGregor. His last 2 fights, were not too good. So I would definitely go with Anthony Pettis. It'll either be a decision or maybe he could get Cowboy out in second round. But I would definitely go with Pettis.
Hopefully a good, exciting fight, though. We already talked about Greg Hardy a little bit. Jeremy Stevens and a guy named Calvin Qatar that I don't even know who he is.
He looks like a math teacher.
There's never been a Jeremy Stevens fight that's not exciting. So that's going to be a barn burner. That guy, Jeremy Stevens, brings it. I mean, I would actually like to see if him and Gaethje were a little closer in weight. I think they may be 20 pounds apart. But he's got a similar style. Just go for broke. They throw haymakers. Gaethje's got the light kicks more, and he's got the better grappling. So Gaethje's the better fighter. But those guys, as far as the punches they throw with bad intentions, I mean, either one of them can. They knock people clean out. Conor McGregor puts people away, and I mean, they don't even know what hit him because he's very fast. But right. I don't think he's KO'd anyone unconscious that I've seen where the guy was completely out. I mean, these guys put people, they're sleeping. So I'll go with Jeremy Stevens for that one as well.
Nice. All right, we already talked about Ngannou, so that brings us to the bantamweight championship. Henry Cejudo with 2 belts versus Dominic Cruz coming off a leg injury.
So Dominic Cruz fights, then he gets injured. He's out 2 years, then he comes back. Then I think his last layoff, he's been out 3 years. And he came back and he took he won the belt first fight back. And Henry Cejudo actually took out Same guy that Dominic Cruz had beat, TJ Dillashaw, who's
Right.
actually out right now because he was taking EPO, which is the stuff that the cyclists take, which basically makes your blood thick and lets more oxygen be in so that you don't get fatigued. Henry Cejudo was the youngest Olympic wrestler to ever come out of the United States at his weight, and his last fight he looked really, really good. It's kind of hard to go against Dominic Cruz because he's beat so many people. He's only lost twice,
and he's got.
But
say it one more time.
He's got a really weird style, Dominic Cruz. Like he kind of, ducks in and out, moves around. He's hard.
Yeah, he definitely does. But I don't know. Henry Cejudo is, to me, he looks huge against TJ Dillashaw, and he looks like he's getting better. And since Dominic Cruz has been off a layoff, I'm going to go with Cejudo.
The triple champ.
I think it's gonna be. That's gonna go. I think that'll probably go 5 rounds though.
Ooh, nice. All right. And the interim lightweight champion, Tony Ferguson, versus Justin Gaethje.
Okay, so Tony Ferguson. The things that they're both good wrestlers, right? They're both college wrestlers, very well accomplished. Justin Gaethje, the things he does well, he doesn't really implement his wrestling much, and neither one of these guys are really looking for takedowns. Gaethje has tremendous leg kicks, probably some of the best, if not the best, in the sport right now. But I don't think he's going to be able to implement the leg kicks because Tony Ferguson's he's long. He's a taller fighter. He's got a longer reach, so that should keep Gaethje away to the point where he's not going to be able to take advantage of the leg kicks without possibly eating strikes and punches. So I don't see those being that much of a factor. Tony Ferguson he brings everything. He basically will come from punching, kicks, but mainly his most dangerous attribute is probably his elbows and his submission.
Yeah. He'll cut you up.
Yeah, he can get into scrambles where you're on top of him and he's just butchering you with elbows, and he can go for submission. So he has a more rounded MMA ability. So I would probably say he's favored because of that. However, I do think Gaethje can knock him out because he does leave his chin very well exposed. Sometimes he goes in punching and his chin's wide up in the air. That's not gonna work with Gaethje, because if you have your chin in the air and he connects, he will put you out. So I'm not gonna give any type of I'm not gonna give a prediction on that one because it's.
Oh no, you can't flake out. We need a prediction.
All right.
We gotta have one.
That's tough. Let's flip a coin. I want Gaethje to win. But I'll go with Ferguson. He has the longest win streak in the weight class, I believe, in UFC history, or at least right now. I think he's got 13 wins in a row. So he's not used to losing.
I absolutely love the fight because I love both these fighters. They're both crazy. They'll both take a ton of punishment. Like Gaethje, there's been plenty of times where he's been like out on his feet, just stumbling around and drops a haymaker on somebody and puts him down. This guy is awesome to watch. Another thing about Ferguson people really don't mention, he trains a different style of jiu-jitsu. He trains under Eddie Bravo. They do the 10th Planet
Joe Rogan's boy.
Yeah, so that's actually different than most of the guys in MMA. They'll fight Gracie Barra style jiu-jitsu, which is, straight from the Gracie family, Royce Gracie, Hoyler, all those guys, going back, 30, 40 years. So they all kind of train style. They train the same defensive moves for attacks that are coming at them. Tony Ferguson's jiu-jitsu is a little bit different. And in a big-time fight, in a scramble, that type of thing will make a difference sometimes.
Very nice, fellas. So we're actually going to wrap it up on that here. CrackBacks is our first fight companion here. We're going to have to come up with a name with it here. If you got one, go ahead and drop it on the Instagram or the Twitter page. Also going to put Mikey A's predictions up on the Twitter page and Instagram as well. We'll check those out next time. Now, we are recording. This will be out on the 6th of May, but we're recording it on Cinco de Mayo. Hope everybody had a safe day. Have a
Happy
shot of tequila
to mile to
before.
everybody out Taco Tuesday.
All
Have
right.
a shot of tequila for the boys here.
Say your
Michael,
prayers. Blessings.
take your vitamins, all of that. So, Michael, thank you
Yeah.
for coming out.
Coming on, Mike.
BG will be hollering at you in a couple of days here. CrackBacks. Peace.
All right, guys.